So much to talk about, so little time to do it in. This is Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host. We're broadcasting live in Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast. We're going to talk a lot about Democrats and their radical bills today. And this first one is just shocking. We actually have a special guest coming into the studio within 6 minutes. I can't wait to bring him in. We'll also have MNGOP State Executive Committee member Mark Bishofsky joining us via Zoom sometime half hour in, I guess. Really interested on his updates in the Otter Tail County thing. None of this could happen unless we had our great sponsors, Alpine Cabinetry in East St. Cloud, Minnesota, and also Warren Wessel of Warren Wessel Realty. You know, if you're buying a home, you're selling a home, you want someone that you trust, a good realtor, but someone also that loves the same things you love, freedom in America, give Warren Wessel a call at 612-419-7453. Joining me today is not Mega Jesse. He's having car troubles. So he's not going to read your comments. Well, we always have fun when they can't make it in. Carla Nelson, the Patriot. Carla Nelson says, good afternoon. JM Teddy, hi, waiting for you. I'm guessing that first one, I can't see it. Is that Tucker? He's usually the first one there, Dawson. You can't see it either?
Don't have it open quite yet.
No, okay. Well, I don't know. I'm guessing it's you, Tucker.
It is Tucker.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it because it said Finke on it. Run the dials as usual. Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. How you doing there, buddy?
I am doing good. Thursdays are leg days, and I have a full rotisserie chicken right here, so
How
life
come
is
I
good.
didn't smell the rotisserie chicken? Usually you can smell that stuff.
I don't know. It's really tasty, so
Do I
it
have
should be
COVID? I
smelling
can't
good.
smell anymore?
I sure hope not.
If you want to interrupt me at any time, I won't be doing the show alone. By the way, I thought about canceling the show. I'm like, I don't have Jesse, and let's just be honest. I host the show. I'm not the talent. Jesse's the talent. Everyone loves Jesse. Bridget's even like getting her own wings, you know, and like flying. In fact, she single-handedly had the biggest Rumble rant session I've ever seen.
That's right.
So I was like, geez, if I don't have the talent, can I even do the show? But we'll try it out. So if you want to interrupt us anytime, Rumble rant, just click on the Rumble rant. That's a way to support our show. Also, make sure you like and subscribe on Rumble. And then we're also broadcasting for the second time on Locals. And I think we'll have an extended hours part for the subscribers on Locals. So while you're doing this program, make sure you hit join on our Rumble page so you'll be part of the Locals community. It's the place we're going to do most of our social media stuff. Okay, let's get right into this first story. This is so interesting. On truthhurtsnews.com, pull this up for me, Dawson. This is a bill. This is actually a compilation of bills that are making their way through the Minnesota legislature right now, and this is in the House. Leigh Finke. As you guys know, this is Chris Finke, a.k.a. Chris Finke. So Chris is one of those dudes. By the way, Chris Finke, Woman of the Year, USA Today's Woman of the Year in 2023, okay? So in other words, in all of Minnesota, how many women are in Minnesota? Like, if we were a population of 6 million, you'd imagine half are women, 3 million, right? So of the 3 million women in Minnesota, and I can think of a lot of great women in the state, USA Today goes, we're going to pick a man for Woman of the Year. So that's what they did. So this is 2023. Woman of the Year is transgender hero. No, I'm not trying to just beat up on transgender people on this program. This person's a monster. We've gone through Leigh Finke's past and basically trying to teach young Christians to like not believe in the Bible and trying to actually use the churches to promulgate this crazy thoughts, but also the legislation that he's passed, including allowing transgender surgeries for minors as young as 6 years old, even if a parent opposes it. So, like, I don't know how else to put it. This person is a monster for what they do legislatively. Do you disagree with that? You giving me the stink eye there.
No,
Dawson.
I'm remembering when I was making the thumbnail for this episode and I had to look up transgender surgery and it was gross.
Yeah, Bill Dingsfin. Bridget has wings. Dawson has chicken. What is this, the 100th episode? You know, people miss that Tushy fella, you know. He ate a lot of wings on this show.
We got to get him back on.
All right, so this bill would actually take your health insurance, my health insurance, all health insurance plans and make us pay for it. So essentially, it mandates if you're going to sell health insurance in this state, you have to include transgender surgeries and abortion services. Actually, I'm sorry. I take that back. One bill, transgender surgeries, another one says abortion. What's going to happen is these are going to get combined in probably a massive omnibus bill, okay? So it'll probably end up being in one bill. All right, let's look at Finke's bill. This is HF 2607, and you could go to you can go to truthhurtsnews.com to look up this story. It's our newly published one. And it's got 24 co-authors in the House and all 5, which is the max, in the Senate in its companion bill. So Finke's bill would create a law that says no health plan that covers physical or mental health services may be offered, sold, insured, or renewed in the state if it excludes gender-affirming care or gender-affirming services. They don't just call it what it is. Freaky Finke, top 10 clown of Minnesota, Napkin Nate says, absolutely. So, and you can see right here we got the language of the bill. This is, it's so if you're looking at legislation in Minnesota, it's like this in a lot of states, but not every state. When it's underlined, that means it's being added to the current statute. Okay, that's on the books. So this says no health plan that covers physical or mental health services may be offered, sold, insured, or renewed in the state that 1, excludes coverage for medically necessary gender-affirming care, or 2, requires gender-affirming treatments to satisfy a definition of medically necessary. And you guys know all you need is probably a doctor. You got to get one woke doctor to say this is medically necessary, and how crazy the cult is on the left. What's medically necessary? Well, that child, right? And this is going to affect children, which is where I'm really opposed to it. They feel this way, and therefore we have to affirm. And that's why they call it gender-affirming care. We have to affirm their feelings on this issue. Now, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of very libertarian in the sense that if you're an adult and you want to do something stupid, you can go do it. Now, it shouldn't be on healthcare plans that are basically run by the government these days. There's really not private healthcare plans anymore because they have all the mandates. And it started under Obamacare. But there are people who make the argument that just in general, gender-affirming or transgender surgeries should be illegal. And one of those people is joining us for the first time in a long time, Mr. What do I even call you anymore? Mr. the Young William, Minnesota's blonde Matt Walsh. I can't even remember your nicknames anymore.
There are a good amount of them. Yeah. Good
Straight-laced William, that's what we called you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the invite, yeah. I had the day off today, so I figured I'd swing by and say hi. Apologies for being late. I was just coming from a lunch.
You don't need to apologize. We just
transitioned
you right into this thing.
Yes, he does.
Does he?
He has to apologize to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, speaking of transitioning things, I do disagree. I don't think that you should be allowed to. Well, rather, on one hand, yeah, you can do what you want to your body. I don't think doctors should be permitted to do these things because it's against nature. It's not scientifically proven to be healthy, safe, any of these things. It's crazy.
You know, I feel like, well, you can drink alcohol, and especially in a great amount.
This is not alcohol, by the way. This is I grabbed the last one. It looks like you grabbed the second to last one
some
there.
More, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, I actually have drank them recently, but you know, foolishly I bit off a lot more than I can probably manage right now in terms of professional stuff. I mean, I started a media company and I don't make a dime off of it. That's kind of a dumb idea. Like, oh, Jake, you got plenty of time. Start a company and you won't get paid for it, but with all those extra hours you have not coaching and hanging out with coaching kids and hanging out with your family. But I got roped into baseball, head coaching my 9-year-old baseball.
Coach?
Well, you know, football I'd like to head coach, and basketball I couldn't commit this year, so I just assistant coach. And so that's what I did is, I could assistant coach, but they were low in numbers, and so they got me to head coach, which is like, with all that extra time, you know. Yeah. Anyhow, don't need my sad story. Not trying to put that on you guys there. It's just like, holy crap, I need to pick me up. And damn it, William, this is actually your fault. This is your doing, because when you worked here, you were like,
Well, for the record, I never worked here. I was contracted, right?
well, we had a contract with you.
Because this was a whole.
Oh, are you going because the CFB complaint? You're all worried about that now?
There's someone watching this program that's ready to pounce on that kind of thing.
That was so ridiculous. That was
fact.
so ridiculous what they were saying.
Wait, because
clearly
they went
worked
and,
on the show, right? It's so clear.
Well, they went back and went through all my social media profiles and submitted it as evidence. So you do have to be careful with these things.
For the most, careful, but it's like we did nothing wrong. That's
no, exactly, exactly.
So stupid.
Dave's
Days Right says hello. I think Days Right is from our district.
Yes, he is. Yep. He's a patriot.
And the patriot Carla Nelson says, "Great to see you, William." The candidate Carla Nelson, that is. Tucker says, "Welcome back, William. Long time no see." Well, here's the thing with you can drink inordinate amount of booze. You can do a lot of things that are very detrimental to your health. It's still legal to actually smoke cigarettes, right? So, my sense is if people foolishly want to do that, they can.
Mm-hmm.
The libertarian principle is you can't do harm to another person. You can't invade and encroach on other people's liberties, right? So I think there's this maybe potentiality of gray areas, and I think you're maybe making this argument that a doctor knowing the evidence, which is giving a lot of doctors too much credit, right? Because where were you guys on that COVID vaccine? It wasn't even a vaccine, a shot. But that they would be actually creating harm to an individual by doing the surgery. It sounds like that's probably the road you're going down. Is that correct? Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying with, the alcohol thing. You can do things that are harmful to your body, but only to a certain extent, right? And I think the doctor's Hippocratic oath, do no harm, is in direct conflict with all these transgender surgeries. And I'm not trying to come down on transgender people because I do believe they are individuals who have been led down this path mistakenly because, big pharmaceutical companies stand to benefit from their surgeries. They make millions of dollars off of each patient. It's insane. So I think that this is a harmful practice. I think it's a predatory practice too, considering that the science is just not there to support the facts. Transgender individuals who still get these surgeries still face depression and suicide. It's really sad, but the surgeries don't do anything, and if anything, they're more harmful than good.
And it could be temporary. I mean, I remember that one time we were having a party and you wanted a White Claw. I mean, just imagine if someone offered you transgender surgery at that time. It would have been dangerous. It could have gone the wrong way.
Yes.
What's the reason for them trying to put abortion and those two things don't seem anywhere near linked?
So they're pushing this stuff, okay? So this isn't the same bill right now. And speaking of physically harming, let's go back to the story. Zach Stevenson, the bisexual. So if Zach Stevenson's on a basketball court, he shoots in both hoops.
Missed those.
How much do you miss my jokes,
I do
William?
miss those.
Do you miss that? He goes to both end zones. He's batting for both teams. Zach Stevens, it's just so funny to me because it's we all have to have this identity that's tied to sexuality. Nowhere in there have I ever thought that sexuality should be my identification. How about like Martin Luther King Jr. said, by the content of your character. How about that?
Yeah.
That's the left's move. So he's got a bill. It's HF 4503. Now this has 8 authors in the House and maximum 5 in the Senate. And what it does is it has coverage of abortion and abortion-related services. And this is required. It says a health plan must provide coverage for abortions and abortion-related services, including pre-abortion services and follow-up services. So once again, whether you get a private plan through your employer, which I think is the majority of people, I'm guessing publicly subsidized plans are already covering this to a degree.
I think so.
Private plans in just the marketplace. Whatever your health care coverage is in Minnesota, it's going to require that coverage to include abortion and transgender surgeries. Okay. So in other words, when you pay your monthly premiums, which we all do, maybe you were a veteran, and served 20 years and you don't pay health care coverages or premiums, but other than the rare people that have complete coverage, we all pay premiums to some degree, right? Well, that goes into a pool of money to pay out the expenses of the health insurance. And in this case, they not only are increasing the cost. There you go. That's how I get Dawson on board. So it's going to cost more to you. But it's going to go to something that most people think is immoral. Unfortunately, more people think it's immoral to do transgender surgeries than abortion. Abortion's literally killing a human being. But I would argue that they are pretty much at the same level, right? Go ahead.
I would say that the abortion one is not as bad as the transgender one. Mostly because, so I don't know if I've ever given my opinions on abortion here, but I kind of follow the Jewish point of view of it, which is like it's allowed within a certain time frame. So you can't be waiting until 6 months in or whatever. You need to do it within 3 weeks, or else, too bad, you're having.
Is that Jewish doctrine?
That's Talmudic. Actually, no, it's rabbinic law. So that's kind of relative to where you are, but in the U.S., that's what I was taught.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Because it's
I feel like fact checking you right now.
What?
Well, it probably depends on, because just like Christianity, there are denominations more or less of Judaism, right?
Yeah, and so I studied under Chabad rabbi and Rabbim, I guess, and so that's Minneapolis rabbis. So it's probably more liberal than most rabbis around
Minneapolis rabbis, huh?
the world. Yeah.
Must be pretty liberal. Do they have the rainbow yarmulke?
No, I don't think so.
Didn't we do a story on a rabbi in Minnesota?
But you had to question it, didn't you?
Well, I know that my rabbi is a good man, so I'm sure he's not homophobic or anything, but I don't think that he would do that kind of thing.
What do you mean by homophobic?
Like, I don't think he cares if someone's gay. He's also on the U of M campus, so if he did,
well, there's a difference between. I want to be careful with how I say this.
Why are you dancing around so much here?
Yeah,
well,
William.
Quite
this
frankly,
is the truth hurts.
The truth
Jeez,
hurts,
William.
Jake.
Just say it.
There's a difference between being quote unquote homophobic. I think that word is used too much, but in the spirit of it, there's a difference between actively hating on homosexual individuals and believing that their lifestyle is wrong. So that's why the word homophobic, doesn't, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
I guess so. It is confusing. Mostly the Jewish argument for abortion comes down to when is the child, when is the fetus.
But how did they come up with 3 weeks? Is that really what it is? 3 weeks?
It's either 3 weeks or a month. I can't remember off the top of my head.
How did they come up with that time frame? Is it because there's a beating heart? Is that it or what?
It's stuff that rabbis know. It's stuff that.
Is it something that rabbis know? They're not like.
Are you
some kind of knowledge in terms of biology that other people are?
I think that it's less of a biological. I think that when is a human considered a human, it's less of a biological thing and more of a religious thing at the end of the day.
Well, Gregory asks a great question. Dawson, what is the difference between a 2.5-week-old kid and a 3.5-week-old kid?
That's not a question for me to answer. The reason why we have rabbis telling us these laws and we follow them is just so that we don't have to worry about it. We could trust the rabbi. They're good people. They know what they're talking about. That's what we do.
Kind of makes me question them.
I think even now, Judaism is set up a little bit differently, but I know at least most of the pastors I've talked to encourage you to think about this stuff for yourself, even if they are an authority on the issue. Like, I would assume that many rabbis would be the same way, are they not?
A lot of them are, but they're more like, they're like, Judaism has existed for so long. There is so much research on it. Ask us questions. We will find you answers that you need. So, like,
but don't you think that that's problematic to just use the authority position to trust what they say?
No, because I have faith in my religion, rabbis and stuff.
But don't you see that's exactly how we got in this predicament with COVID, the lies through the institutions?
Well, moreover, don't you believe that humans are fallible and that we make mistakes?
I would say
rabbis are human,
or I wouldn't even say that. Not even infallible. That they could have their own personal agenda too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that one rabbi can have a personal agenda, but the whole point of asking my rabbi, who I study under, he doesn't do, I'm going to tell you the answer. This is what you do. He says, I'm going to go and talk to 5, 10, 15 rabbis, however many we need, and then I'll come back to you with their answers. So it's less so
but
one
instead
guy
of
has...
you researching and doing your own, investigation into it, because it seems like you could come to a completely separate approach. I think that's giving too much faith to one person.
I'm not giving my faith
I'm not
to
saying
one
that
person.
you disregard it, just like you wouldn't disregard a priest or a pastor.
Right.
But
I'm not giving my faith to one person. I'm giving it to...
Sounds like you are, because you just said like
No.
you the rabbi says that it's 3 weeks, so you don't really look into it.
The rabbi, his whole process is going through 15, 20, however many rabbis he needs to. So,
Well, I know, but that's the same argument Fauci would make. Well, we
Okay,
talked to all the
yes.
people at
you
NEIH
gotta do
or
the
whatever it
voice.
is. What's that?
We looked at the science.
Look
The
at the
science says more masks work. You got to put on the mask.
That's actually not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
bad.
We do great impressions here. Did
yes.
you hear my Leigh Finke impression?
No, I didn't. I missed that one. Was that when
I don't
Grayson
know how he
was on the
sounds,
show?
so we made a real nerdy voice.
Yeah, that
And
nasally
now
one.
somehow I sound like Borat. Well, listen, regardless of what your personal opinion on it is, you understand that is like a 50-50 issue. People are very split in the state of Minnesota on abortion. Guys like me believe it is actually killing a human being.
Sorry, I do have one more point to make before people think that I'm a monster. I don't think that the left treating abortion as some like, oh yeah, just get an abortion, just go do it.
Contraceptive plan, right?
It's not birth control. I think that it's a super serious issue still, and you should be doing everything that you can to prevent needing an abortion. But in the worst case scenario, you can do it.
Tucker has a great point. We asked 50-some intelligence agents if Biden laptop was false. Remember that one? Great point.
There's a huge
true.
difference between that and Fauci doing it. People
No,
who
I don't think
have-
so, because you're still putting into authority figures, and that's the
No,
problem.
but
People need to research
what
things
does my
themselves.
rabbi have to gain if my girlfriend gets an abortion?
Your rabbi literally might be pro-choice, right? He might literally be political. He might be looking at this from a political perspective.
That's the faith.
And
that
he might be against... You have to admit at some point that a lot of
Oh,
people in the ELCA, pastors, are more looking towards the culture and politics than they are the scriptures.
they could be.
With their...
They could be if
Yeah.
they're bad pastors. But another thing I have to put out there is I'm not just consulting one rabbi either. I have 3 that I typically go to that get the job done at the end of the day.
And all 3 have come up with that opinion?
Yeah, they all agree that that's the right
Interesting. I
place
did not
to go.
know that about Judaism.
Well,
And-
I mean,
If that's true, I guess.
in the grand scheme of things, preventing abortion at 3 weeks is a lot better than, no
Right.
restrictions at all. So, like,
Yeah.
especially here in Minnesota, I think Dawson was onto something.
Well, you know
The-
what? Let's go back to this law. Okay, so this
Yeah,
says abortion, and then last year the Democrats changed the law, and abortion's covered all the way to the moment of birth. In fact, it's even included after birth, in the sense that if an botched abortion happens and the baby is born alive, that baby could still be killed or
Yeah. I think-
be allowed to not. God, how do you put this? It's not like they're stabbing the baby, but they're not. They're not.
It's like no life support. or
Correct,
something
like no
that.
life support, because obviously a baby can't just survive on its own. Immediately, it needs mother, right? It needs medical attention. So they basically allow that baby. How do you put that? I don't even know how to put that. I should know by now, but basically, I'd have to go back and look at the language.
Yeah,
But
I think that they should probably have to worry about that, not
which is an insane position, but that was Democrats in Minnesota. And it's not just Minnesota. California has a similar thing. I remember you reporting on this thing, but that literally happened in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much infanticide, in my opinion. So anyhow, you pay your health premiums, okay? Everyone here probably has health insurance coverage, right? So when you pay your whatever it is, $500 to $1,500, I'm guessing somewhere in that range, depending on your, individual versus family, and then obviously employers usually cover a lot of premiums, depending on your employer. You are essentially helping fund these atrocious things, and the Democrats want it that way. And this is the bill, and so this is Finke. And by the way, Finke, I mean, if we could just go back to this transgender stuff, this stuff, there's so much evidence that it's detrimental to people, because we know that the detransitioners are out there, and we also know it's a cult because the way they treat these detransitioners is like they're terrible, awful human beings. But this is like seriously a big crisis in America. It's the only reason it's not like massive in the sense that it's affecting everybody is because it's such a small percentage of the population. But the fact that so many people inside of this community are having second thoughts, detransitioning, and having, and by the way, mental issues. They're pretty much all having the mental issue. For us to just act like this is a good thing and it should be in all healthcare plans is just, once again, monstrous, in my opinion. Am I wrong on this, William?
You are absolutely not wrong, Jake. It's not healthcare.
It's anti-healthcare, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and of course they banned the, they call it conversion therapy, and of course for them that's such a broad subject. They think of it as the electroshock therapy that they used to do, but that also includes Christian therapy.
Right.
Therapy that discusses these kinds of issues, and it's abysmal, and it's a complete insult to the First Amendment and to religious liberties.
Currently, these bills are in the Health, Finance, and Policy Committee. My sense is they're getting traction right now. What will happen is they will end up getting put in an omnibus bill, which is like a massive bill, Health and Human Services omnibus bill. And, you know, it might not get any Republican support. It might actually get Republican support. Who knows? But quite frankly, in the end of the day, it's highly likely to pass in the Minnesota legislature. That's what you get. By the way, I'd argue we got that because Rhino supported Tony Jurgens and screwed up the whole Minnesota government. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that is a
you know
fair
a little something
assessment.
about that, don't you?
I know. I kind of followed what happened there, but jeez.
All right, let's move to the next topic here. Action for Liberty went up to Otter Tail County. This is interesting. Tonight is the vote. We've been ripping on Republicans for the last 2 weeks. You know, it sucks because there's so much bad things the Democrats are doing, but you got to rip on the Republicans when they're acting corrupt and doing what they're doing. And so Otter Tail County, David Hand, the chair of MNGOP, decides unilaterally he's going to get rid of all these delegates who were elected on caucus night. Well, we went up, Dustin and myself, to go film Action for Liberty and Eric Mortensen meeting with 100 delegates. By the way, none of these people, other than I think Nate Miller and Tammy Berry, had even talked or seen David Hand, even though he said like he's talked to hundreds of these people. None of these guys in the room had seen David Hand. I want to show a clip of this video of the people up there in Otter Tail County. Go ahead and play this there, Dustin.
Witnessed firsthand dozens of pictures of caucus delegate lists at the precinct level. In fact, these delegates have gotten pretty wise over the years after what happened to them in 2022. That many of them took pictures. I think we have 80 some odd pictures of delegate lists that were taken that night.
In my view, the only accurate election results are on the sign-in forms that the secretary and the chair of the precinct filled out, and that's who was elected.
The intent, we heard that earlier from the gentleman, we can easily determine the intent of the caucus, okay? You can easily look at the paperwork, and if there is anything that's unclear, that is why you have a precinct chair and a secretary.
That we need to look at the intent of the voter. That's something we really need to do.
What is at stake here, and why is it so important to see these people being reinstated?
Election integrity is at stake. Republicans claim to be the party of election integrity, and these people took their time on that Tuesday night, February 27th, to show up, do exactly what they were told to do 2 years ago, that if you don't like the outcome, to organize and show up en masse and become a delegate. Well, that's exactly what they did. And now they're being disenfranchised by Minnesota GOP chair David Hand.
All right, Dustin, let's cut it right there. So what I want you guys to do, you can go check out this video. We're going to put it in the link in Rumble chat. And it's on Action for Liberty's YouTube page. It's probably only 6.5 minutes long, but I'd love for you guys to go check that out. And what's up?
Mark is on.
Oh, Mark's on? Good.
Yep.
So there's just overwhelming evidence. We saw it firsthand. You saw Representative Jeff Backer and Representative Tom Murphy, who wrote a letter to David Hand saying reinstate these delegates because they were there for the 5 hours. and they saw firsthand how overwhelming the evidence is in favor of reinstating these delegates. We're talking about hundreds of people. So it all comes down to tonight. Tonight is the vote. From what I understand, David Hand wants to put together a task force, and one would allege he's going to put it with people who are going to do the bidding for him to keep these delegates out of the the convention process, and that would be a major blow to the movement here. And there's a lot of momentum going the opposite way just to reinstate these people as is. We have State Executive Committee member Mark Bishofsky, longtime friend of the show, actually a guy that's hosted the show. So, Mark, what do they think about our relationship?
How you doing, Jake?
Good.
So, yeah, you said we're going to vote on that tonight, but I'm just looking at the agenda. It's not on there.
You kidding me? The State Executive Committee, which is supposed to have a task force on this issue, it's not on there?
No,
I mean, what am I misunderstanding? This was supposed to be a committee that stood up to determine which delegates to reinstate. That was decided in an emergency meeting a little over a week ago, Tuesday, right?
Yeah, but even myself being on the State Executive Committee, I don't have a clue who's on the task force. I don't know what's been done. I don't know what they're doing. I have no clue. I'm sure there'll be a motion made tonight. I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but it needs to be addressed. I mean, we need to know. And I ran on transparency, so I'm going to be transparent.
Yeah, that. Let's get to that first, okay? David Hand called people like you dishonorable. This is a leaked audio. I'm sure I sent it to you, Mark. Mark and I have known each other for many years. We met when he started the Stop Vaccine Mandate rallies. Started actually in Stillwater, as we live, 2 miles away from each other. And Mark has done such a good job catapulting this small, I wouldn't even call it career, because you don't actually work in politics. You're volunteer in politics, all the way up to the State Executive Committee. And that's a 15-person committee, and it's the key decision makers of the MNGOP. I'm sure they hated the fact that you got appointed to that committee, but the people wanted you, right, from Congressional District 4. So David Hand gets confronted by Eric Mortensen at a convention, and Mortensen's asking him, tell us more about who's going to be on this task force, and he won't answer to Mortensen, who's actually a state central delegate. He says, I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't even know if he thinks he has to answer to you guys. And apparently it's not on the agenda tonight. But he calls you and others dishonorable because you talk to us, you talk to other people, so the information on what's going on with these hundreds of grassroots delegates gets out there. Otherwise, if it was up to David Hand, it's the gulag, right? Or it's the KGB. We're not going to let anyone know what the hell's going on in the Republican Party. We're not going to let people know the status of these delegates. What am I getting wrong on this one, Mark?
Nothing. You're not getting anything wrong. I don't understand what the secret is. This should all be out in the open. This process should be open. What we're doing is disenfranchising hundreds and hundreds of people who, and the trickle out effect of that is people are going to leave the party. If they do this to people, we're not going to win in 2024. They'll keep their little donor class. They'll move to the center and go pro-choice or whatever it is they want to do. I don't know what they want to do, but what they're doing makes no sense. And we need to be transparent. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this process is transparent and open. If we're going to strategize about politics and how we're going to be Democrats, yeah, sure, that needs to be kept secret. This does not need to be kept secret.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much we want to get into things here, Mark. How much time do I have with you?
Maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, 10
15.
minutes. All right. One issue I want to get taken care of. Okay. Otter Tail County is kind of run by this establishment force. I don't know.
Let's get into that.
Yeah, okay. I don't know these people well. Tommy Miracle, it looks like his wife is very active. His son, Harry, were very active. I don't know these guys, okay? I know of them. I know they support the Rhino establishment, the Jobs Coalition, stuff like that, which spends money against the Dorsey candidates. they're getting their ass whooped, okay, right? There's now state legislators talking out against what these guys are doing, right? It seems very evident to anyone that's paying attention that these guys want to disenfranchise the voters that showed up at caucus. It seems very evident to almost anyone that's paying attention. Well, they've been contacting members of the state executive committee and what just came, you were telling me about something this morning about them not, or was the wife not realizing you were actually an endorsed candidate? How did this thing go?
So yeah, it was actually, I talked to Mr. Backer, the representative, and he wanted to find out that he wanted to hear from me that yes, I was the endorsed candidate. But what, so I don't know if we can clarify, but is Tommy Miracle, is he the director of the Jobs Coalition? I know he's involved. He's a major donor there, and I think he's on the board or he's the director. Do you happen to know?
Well, I could live check it. I think he's probably a board member. Go ahead. Continue what came of this.
But what's interesting about that is with this Otter Tail caucus, the establishment folks wanted the incoming delegates to sign a document saying that they would support the endorsed candidate, or they couldn't be involved if they weren't going to sign this. But what's funny is the people making them sign this are the same people that spent $35,000 against me, the endorsed candidate, and tried to take me out in a primary. Now, how ironic and how hypocritical are these people?
Yeah, we got Napkin Nate with the Rumble Rant. Great to see William back, misses debates with Jesse, but he only put $5 on it, so I don't know how much he really.
So is that?
Just kidding.
Would I be debating the what would he call that, a statue with the Jesse hat today?
You might actually be able to win that one.
Oh, well, I usually do, so I wouldn't worry about it. I usually win those.
I'm trying to find just Tommy Miracle's thing. I can find something on Tommy Miracle will serve as chairman of the development committee. Okay, so it says he's so development committee. So he's on the here. I'm going to put this link into the show notes here real quick. Dawson.
Jeff Backer told me that Tommy Miracle is like the director of the Jobs Coalition. Like, his hands are all over it. I don't know exactly what the title is.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to get their actual positions here, but you're right. He's pretty much the mover and shaker. If he's the development, he's, he's a big stakeholder. He's trying to get the fundraising going for the organization. Well, essentially, there you go. That he's fundraising to work against guys like you, the endorsed candidates. Mm-hmm. This is so here we go. This is from the Jobs Coalition, and then if you scroll down to the second paragraph, it says Tommy Miracle will serve as the chairman of the development committee. Okay, so he's a mover and shaker inside the Jobs Coalition. So these guys spend money, and it was 4 endorsed candidates, if I remember right, that they spent it against. It was actually until after the primary. No, not until after the primary.
But he was an incumbent.
2022, I think Mortensen was endorsed.
Well, yeah, 2018, and I'm sure the Jobs Coalition spent money against him that year.
In 2018, he was endorsed. He wasn't endorsed in 2020 or 2022, but come 2022, he was the incumbent candidate or the incumbent representative, which these guys create a big fuss about. Oh, we have to protect our incumbents.
Yeah, but their talking point is they're not Republicans because they were in the Newhouse Republican caucus.
Right.
They spent money against Mike Weiner too.
I was gonna say Mike Weiner, and wasn't Pam Aldendorf endorsed? Or was that open as well?
That was open.
Okay, so Mike Weiner and you, for sure. At the very least. And then, of course, all 4 being probably the more conservative choice. So there you go. This guy wants people to sign a pledge to only support the endorsed candidates when he goes around and fines funders to actually work against the endorsed candidate. So how did that conversation go with Jeff Becker?
It was fine. I just told him the facts. I had 82% of the votes. It was an overwhelming decision by the people. And yeah, they not only lied about me, you saw those flyers they were putting out that I'm for vaccine mandates. I mean, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Telling to stop the mandate. I mean, they will lie about you. I mean, it's so hypocritical that, he's probably if you talk about people going against an endorsed candidate, how much volume does $45,000 speak? Versus just forcing someone to sign a signature that they won't do it, and they're going to go and vote for an independent or a write-in candidate or something. How much damage does that do versus spending $45K against endorsed Republican candidates. It's unbelievable. It pisses me off that they can be that ignorant, or just leave that out of the conversation.
So what came of this conversation then with Jeff Backer? Because what's interesting is he made the right move here, right? Like, I love how he penned this letter to David Hand and the exec committee saying, guys, we have the evidence. Reinstate these delegates.
Yeah, I mean, it seems obvious. It's obvious to him. He told me that the evidence is beyond clear that the delegates that were elected on February 27th of 2024, it's very clear who they were, that it was within this window of an hour. The process started before 8 o'clock. He understands the damage that will be done if David Hand's decision is kept in place. And now we've got counties, different BPOUs jumping on board, other legislators, Franzen. The writing's on the wall here. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. And I know Backer told me a couple other things too, but I don't want to tip the hat necessarily before tanight, if you follow.
Yeah, I'm not going to press you on that here if they didn't want you to disclose anything. But why can't this is the thing that really bugs me. Why can't the public attend these meetings? Why can't they know about these things? Like, you guys aren't discussing November strategy against the Democrats. You're not discussing the intricacies of a lawsuit. Why is David Hand trying to keep this stuff behind closed doors? I don't understand.
It's something I can't understand either, because we had that discussion in my first meeting. There was a little bit of a speech that we need to come across as our decisions as being, agreed upon by everyone. We need to be what's the word I'm looking for? A consensus. Our voice as the committee should be a consensus. Once we make a decision and it's a vote, we just have to go with it and not speak against it. But I made the comment, and I will continue to make the comment, that any vote I make, anything I say in that room, I will defend it. I stand on my principles. I will be happy to explain it to anybody. I'm not hiding anything. There's nothing secretive about it to me. We're not discussing political strategies to beat the left. And even when it comes to the financial side of it, it's all public information. All these campaign finance reports, which they have to report to the feds, to the state, it's all public. There's nothing really, even in the financial side, that needs to be kept hidden. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No. I think they only have two committees. One's a FEC regulated committee, and the other one's a CFB regulated committee. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Or maybe there is. Maybe there's a secret pot of money. What are they doing with that secret pot of money? Who knows?
Yeah, and when it comes to the finances, we get a treasurer's report each meeting, and I'm not an accountant. I don't understand it. There's all
dude is crazy. That dude is crazy.
Well, hold on. I was told he wasn't the treasurer anymore. He was speaking. What was his position at the last State Central?
Yeah, it was.
Meeting?
I don't know, but he is literally on the books now as treasurer.
Oh, is he really?
Wait, are you State Central delegate?
Yeah, I am.
So they said he's not the treasurer?
Well, no, because he was fired as treasurer after his weird email.
Right. We read that on air on Tuesday.
Yeah, no, he's at least at the State Central Committee meeting. Maybe he's something else now.
No, he is the treasurer. He's on the books. You can see it.
Okay.
And he's on the State Exec Committee as the treasurer position.
Interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Weird man.
Oh, my God. This is the crap. I mean, and meanwhile, you're taking time and resources away from the battle against the left. That's the other problem. Like, Action for Liberty's got to go help these hundreds of delegates, which, by the way, those guys are awesome. They're doing a lot of good work. So, it's much easier when you have good people like that who know what they're doing. Like, we went up to this. Mark, did you see the video that we produced at Action for Liberty? Yeah. So, we had 5 hours of footage and not endless amounts of time. So Dawson and I are like, how the hell do we break this thing down? And we tried to break it down to 5 minutes, went to 6.5. How do you do that? It's impossible. Okay. So Actually, I kind of understand the media now. I actually, for the first time, was sympathetic to media trying to get these reports done by the end of the day. But we had to break down all this stuff. So there's a lot of voices you didn't get to hear and things you didn't get to see. But we did a scan of this table full of affidavits. We have seen the evidence. There's, I don't know, 100 whatever sheets that have clearly marked who was there in attendance, who got elected as delegates. It's so simple. And if there was any bit of question on any of them, all they have to do is at the Otter Tail County Convention, they just need to say, we want to meet as precincts first just to re-adjudicate the process to make sure that the right people were selected as delegate. They could do that. That could be part of the business, right? Most people are going to know, I'm sure the vast majority of the precincts, very obvious who was elected delegates. But for the ones that they aren't, just meet as a... That's the whole point in having a precinct chair, right? I'm basically taking Jeff Backer's position. I think that was in the video. He made that argument. All right, so at this point, Mark, you're one of 15 members, and you have no idea what's on the agenda today in terms of this. But it's supposed to be on the agenda, correct?
I don't know what's supposed to be on the agenda.
And you've heard nothing from David Hand on this task force.
There's been nothing. I don't think there's been any message from Chairman Hand since our emergency meeting. I don't think there's been any communication. I have no idea what's going on. Obviously, this will get addressed tonight. How deep we'll go, what motions will be made, I don't know. But I will tell you this. I've gotten, since this started, just a couple days prior to the emergency meeting last week, I've gotten, just myself, probably 500, if you combine phone calls, emails, and text messages. And I know the other board members are getting more, the ones that I think maybe are more on the fence. I think people understand where I'm coming from, and a lot of those people probably feel like they don't need to contact me, but I'm still getting that many. But I'll tell you, I've only gotten one message from the side that wants to, shall I say, disenfranchise the delegates. That was from Mrs. Miracle. That's the only person that seems to be fighting for that side. I haven't heard one argument that makes any sense. And basically, she just hates Action for Liberty and wants people to support the endorsed candidates. And, I can speak on that. I was the endorsed candidate. I had people in my own BPOU. I got primaried. People in my own BPOU, delegates, were supporting some, were supporting my primary candidate. That's okay. That is okay. I don't want them kicked out of the Republican Party. I want them to come and vote for good Republicans still. Why would we want to kick anyone out? Don't we want to unite? I don't understand that. I don't understand why you'd want to boot all these people out of the process.
Well, we can't afford to because the Republican Party keeps losing in this state. So you literally can't kick people out.
Right.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's okay with them.
I think you shared this. Laura Miracle, is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one reaching out. Accusing us of being a scammer grifter group. Like, what? Do we not say we stand up for the grassroots? Do we not literally do exactly what we say we're going to do? Like, this is such a ridiculous complaint about us. Like, we are probably the most honest when it comes to politics. We do exactly what we say we're going to do. Brad Ganser, number $10 Rumble rank. Getting primaried as an endorsed candidate sucks. Sorry you had to go through that, Mark. That's actually an interesting point. Brad Ganser ran in 2018, was endorsed, and the establishment got behind his endorsed or as a primary challenger, Kristen Robbins. And in his case, they did this like last minute blitz attacking him. In Brad's case, for a breaking and entering when he was in college, trying to steal buddy's CDs, went to the wrong apartment, stupid college prank that went around. They brought this up from 26 years ago. Sorry, I gave away your age there, Brad, but 26 years prior, they brought that up and tried to use it against him, acted like it was some felony breaking and entering. He's some criminal. Meanwhile, Brad's a decent guy, family man. Good business. We love Brad on this show. And that's what they do. That's what they do to guys like that because Brad's not going to get in line with what they want, right? He's going to stand up against our values. And endorsed by the people, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the process ought to work, but if you're not going to kiss ass and toe the line and do what they say, they don't want you. If they can't control you, it seems like they don't want you, even if you're overwhelmingly chosen by the people. And in my case, all these, you saw how it was, Jake. I had 100 people I could call on any given weekend. I would have 30, 40 people out knocking doors for me.
Yeah.
All those people
That's rare.
are done. They are done.
You know what?
Maybe they'll vote for Trump, but they're not going to donate. They're not going to get involved with our new candidate in 33B. They're done. They've lost hope in the party. They can't keep fucking doing this.
That is actually a really good point. Sorry to keep you over your time, but that was the end of that video on Action for Liberty, and we put the link I think we put it in the comment section. We'll put it in after the fact too. Or you can go to Action for Liberty on YouTube. But we put video of people. What's at stake here? Well, literally people go, if I can't participate in the process, then I'm going to leave the process, right? And the Republican Party can't afford to do that. David Hand's a disaster. He's going to screw over the Republicans' chances in the future by doing this kind of stuff. Because you're right. I know some of the people you're talking about, Mark. Great people. We brought them here for training. They got involved in the process. They screw you, ends up losing. They're done. They're not doing politics anymore. This one guy gave us his testimony. He brought his daughter to the caucus. Then she gets these emails, you're not a delegate anymore, from David Hand. She doesn't even know she's going to vote anymore. It's like, good job. Good job, David Hand.
And it's not just local, because I was literally having people drive down from like the Duluth area, from up north, to help knock doors for me all over the state. I was getting $50 donations from all over the state. People were watching what was happening, and they've disenfranchised just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And there was this someone went around the state doing speeches about how we had a record number of disengaged Republican voters in 2022, and that's why we lost. They're known Republicans that did not vote.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you'd like to grow that number in 2024 and have even more disengaged voters, then continue doing this, right?
Yeah, and that's actually what you hear people go is, we would have won that election, but the Republicans that stayed home. Well, why do you think that is? They're not welcomed. And why do you think the MNGOP does not do well fundraising with small-time donors? They don't do well in the base. Love Minnesota says, with $10 rumble rant, I second Napkin Nate's comment about William, and also the one about Broadcarp. What's Broadcarp?
Broadcorp?
What's
I think it was Napkin Nader said something funny about Michael Broadcorp. I won't read it, but
what did he say?
Maybe one of you guys can read it.
What did he say? I don't have it up there.
You got to scroll back a little bit.
GH 5050. I knew Mark at Lakeville for a short time. I left about the same time he did, also because of the mandate. I'm so happy to see him engaged in this fight. Thanks for what you're doing, Mark. The comments are. See, this is why we need Bridget here. I can't.
But do you want me to move over there?
No. Well, you still can't read them because you got to have your thing
true.
open, right?
Yeah.
You said Napkin Nader was the...
You're not on mic here. What's that?
Napkin Nader was the one who said it?
Sure.
Yeah, about Michael Broadcorp.
Michael Broadcorp lurking this show. You are an establishment cuck.
Yeah. Is it in the comment section or something? That guy's such a loser.
That'd be funny.
I got people on our team sending stuff to me, like tweets. So apparently they talk about me all the time. As if I actually read what they have to say.
Careful, Jake. You might clip this and post it later.
Oh, my God, those dorks. Oh, geez. I like the fact that I think they're relevant, though. I have one last question for you, Mark. So I get this question. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm putting you in the hot seat, but you don't give a shit. People want to see David Hand fired. I don't know if there's a more compelling case to fire a chair of the Republican Party than disenfranchising the voice of hundreds of people, hundreds of Republicans in the base. That's got to be the most compelling case I've seen in a long time. Can the state exec even fire the guy? Like, how does this work?
Could make a motion to either ask for his resignation or we can't remove him. We can ask for his resignation. That would take, I believe, just a majority vote, but it would still be up to him to resign. Or we could vote to remove him, and that would take a 2/3 vote of the state executive committee, and then it would go to state central. And then what that does is, so right now, state central the big state central meeting can vote to remove the chair with a 2/3 vote. If we get a 2/3 vote on state exec prior to a state central meeting, if we get 2/3, then you only need a simple majority at state central to remove the chairman.
Boy, if this guy's got any decency left, he should just resign, retire, and just go work with your buddy Tommy Miracle in the Jobs Coalition, and then just above board work against the endorsed candidates of the Republican Party and the Conservatives. There you go. That's your future. Stop doing it so secretly, David Hand. Just do it. Yeah. Just do it with the Jobs Coalition.
Yep, and he wasn't a part of the Jobs Coalition, apparently. He wasn't a part of the HRCC, finding candidates to run against endorsed candidates, but he was, I believe, part of the process of removing voter data access to 5 candidates. I mean, I don't know how much influence
more than that.
AAA Appelkowski had or what the process there, but it seems to me that a chairperson could have called out the HRCC publicly to ask them to stop. There could have been a vote on state exec to remove their authority as an organization. They could have done a lot, I believe, and I think all these bills that passed in the last session last year, the abortion, the gun, the transgender, tampons in the boys' bathrooms, all that stuff kind of falls, in my mind, on state executive committee. Because if you just look at Tom DePel, needed 151 more votes. He needed to flip 151 votes, I believe.
Something like that.
If he would have been supported instead of fought, if he'd have been supported by the party, if they'd have given him a few door knockers, he'd flip 150. He would have won clearly. None of this stuff would have passed.
It's actually, it's interesting you say that. The fact that they didn't put all the resources and time there, when guys like me, well, I shouldn't say that. It's not like I'm naive to politics. I do understand politics, but I could see that was we said this multiple times. That's the balance of power. It's in District 41. We said this probably for months, maybe even, well, not a year, because we didn't know. We thought old Senate District 54 was going to be the balance of power, right? And then it kind of merged into 41. But we knew, and the Democrats knew too. They had Working America on the ground for the final 2 weeks. And so this just falls flat on their face that they didn't put the time resources in there.
Yeah, if they would have supported Tom DePel just a little bit and not spent, tens of thousands against him, the door knockers they employed against him for primary, if they'd have given him the door knockers, the flip in the money he spent to win primary versus what they spent, all that stuff, he wins by 1,000 votes or more, I bet you. I mean, right? My race was inconsequential. Had I won, it still doesn't change the House. What they did to me, whatever. It was bad. They shouldn't have done it, but it doesn't matter, because even me winning wasn't going to make the difference. But everything comes down to Tom DePel, who's an amazing Christian, liberty-minded, conservative, good family man. He should have won, and we would have blocked all this nonsense. And to me, it all falls on the establishment.
Yeah,
the guilt lies there. I'm sorry, I'm on the state exec and whatever. Vote me out. I don't give a shit. I'm here to be transparent. I just want to fight for my kids. Whatever. Think of anyone on the board watching this. Whatever. Think what you want of me. I'm just a regular guy who's fed up, and I'm trying to do what I can for my children so that I can leave this earth knowing that I've done everything I can to fight for common sense. So hate me if you want.
Well, I know your wife. I know your children. You're an honorable person. So thank you so much for all this intelligence that you're giving us, which is supposedly not supposed to happen to Mr. KGB David Hand, which is insane. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Hope the vote goes well tonight.
Yeah, thanks. I'll talk to you soon, Jake.
What a good guy. I mean, honest to God. And the fact that he runs on transparency and he's saying, we can't tell people this stuff. We're gonna try to keep the show to an hour for the most part. And then do like an extended show on locals. So if you want to watch the after show, we're going to have a topic about actually Nate Wiesenberg voting against a Republican gun control bill. We're going to get into that. William, if you could stick around, we want to hear a little bit more about your personal life recently, right? New father.
Oh, yeah, I'm a dad.
God. He looked so... He's like, what? What's going on? I don't know.
I didn't actually know that you guys were doing locals. You're taking kind of my idea of the Twitter Spaces after the show.
Yeah, well, Twitter Spaces sucked. It sucks
Get
so
more
much.
followers first, and then it'll be cool.
Ugh, no, it's not cool. Audio, like that was dumb. You'll see. Locals is awesome.
People participate.
Whatever.
Anyway.
This is why we canned him. No, actually, I encourage you to take the job you got. I don't want. Do we want to? I don't think we should tell people your job, but you work for a good boss, right? So
Yeah, I
good.
do a couple things.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do a little this, a little that. One other story I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry I missed on the last show, but it was the 1-year anniversary of Leigh Finke being Woman of the Year in Minnesota. USA Today's Woman of the Year. And apparently the USA 2024 Woman of the Year is Peggy Flanagan.
Huh.
So 2 years in a row, they pick a Democrat politician, and in one case wasn't even a woman, for Minnesota Women of the Year. I had this idea, William. I know you're going to love it. It's Women's History Month for another week or week and a half. I think we need to have a Truth Hurts News Woman of the Year. The criteria is they must live in Minnesota or be representative of Minnesota, and they must actually be a woman. So it's a little more stringent than USA Today. But I think we'll announce the victor. Please go to jake@truthhurtsnews.com. Email me at jake@truthhurtsnews.com with all your submissions of Woman of the Year. We'll announce it next week. So we're going to talk about those things. We got a link in there. Go to our Truth Hurts Locals for subscribers. If you want to be part of the after show, we thank all the people that did the Rumble Rants. We thank you guys for liking and watching the show. We'll be back on Tuesday. Thank you very much, and we'll be with the audience and locals in just a couple minutes. So basically, we're just